let's kick it off with, is cardio good for weight loss?
Basically, yes and no. I think great for improving your general cardiovascular fitness. Is it a great tool by itself for weight loss? In my opinion, no.
Yeah, do you think it's overvalued?
Yes, definitely. I think because there's always been a traditional view of want to lose weight, go for a run.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's sort of been held on to, whereas the actual premise behind that is if you want to lose weight, move more, basically.
Yeah. I think cardio and movement are not quite the same thing. We're classing cardio as like, what do you reckon, above 120 beats a minute?
Yes, so
rate.
moving into like the zone 2, kind of above that. Yeah.
Well, I find the problem with that is, for me personally, is it makes me hungry to the extent where I'll eat at least the same amount of calories, if not more, of what I burn. So obviously there's a lot of benefits to cardio from a health perspective, with heart and vasodilation of your capillaries and blood pressure and longevity. But just purely from my own experience, if I try and increase my cardio dramatically, I just eat so much cereal.
Yes. Cereal is my downfall.
No amount of cardio is going to combat that.
Yeah. I think what is more important nowadays is having a balanced diet. I understand the need for calorie deficit to be able to lose weight and things like that. But I think before you even look at anything like that, you need to assess what's going into my diet and things like that. And then you've got to couple that with, one, do I enjoy cardio? Yeah. So you can run yourself to death, but if you absolutely hate it, you're never going to stick to a program and it's not going to be efficient. 2, does it suit my body type? So for me personally, I can run for miles. Speed work, I'm terrible at. I do it because I know it's effective for me to be able to build up like strength in my joints and things like that, for me to be able to run further. But I absolutely hate it. So I try and do like sort of what I need to do and then don't really include much else of it. Yeah. Whereas I think a lot of people don't realize the benefits of, and it's becoming more prominent, to be fair, and it's becoming more talked about, strength training for weight loss, I think.
And why do you think strength training is so important for weight loss?
Well, I think for one thing, aside from the weight loss, it's good for maintaining joint strength and things like that as well. So for longevity, I think it's really important.
I think maintaining muscle mass during a period where you're actually losing body mass.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really important.
Stops that yo-yo rebound that you see, doesn't it?
Definitely. Yeah, I think, from a mentality point of view, you're going to feel like if you maintain that muscle mass whilst you're dropping body mass, you're going to feel better about it. Yeah. And I also think that people don't quite, or it's not quite realised until recently, I say recently, in the last like 5-10 years, that if you're strength training, you're still engaging your cardiovascular system, not in the same way as running or anything like that, but you're also engaging it because you're putting your body under stress. Yeah. And you're engaging your muscles.
Especially if you're supersetting. Exactly. Your heart rate can come just creeping just below zone 2 cardio.
Yeah.
But if you're doing like push-pull superset.
Yeah.
I like what you said about really considering the type of person we're talking about. One of my first ever clients actually did really well. He had a great motivator. His motivation for getting in shape was to be able to see his kids grow up, which is just such an awesome goal to hear. Absolutely, but he lost, I think, 3.5-4 stone.
Wow.
For the Americans, what's that in pounds? It's got to be like 50 pounds.
Something like that, yeah.
Very vaguely 50 pounds. Yeah. But and the funny thing is, we didn't run once. And I probably trained him. Well, it took us a while to lose that, maybe 1.5 years, 2 years. Yeah. Didn't run once at all because he was just too big. It was going to ruin his joints.
Exactly,
it's just not going to work. And then once I stopped training him, I saw him a few years later, and he's a marathon runner now.
Oh wow,
and he does marathons, and it's crazy. Like so it's a good for you, and I think he's using it to keep his weight down.
Yeah,
but it wasn't appropriate for him
to
actually get him to where he needed. We did weight training. He did do some cycling to work him back, but
again, that's low impact on your joints, and it's a good way to get the heart rate up without having to risk potential injury and things like that.
I'd say for him, that was his version of getting 10,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, really. Cardio is good for you. Not always. I think walking is probably better for weight loss.
Yeah. I think just consistent movement is the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Consistent movement and being aware of what you're eating and how much of it you're eating. Like you said right at the beginning, you can go for a run and then afterwards you'll feel empty and you'll need to refuel. I think at that point, if you are consistently running and you're sticking to a good program, you've then got to consider, am I taking on the right stuff after a run where I'm not overeating but I'm feeling full? So getting a good amount of protein in, replenishing carbs, and getting some good fats on board afterwards and some fruit and veg.
Yeah,
I think is really important. But then that comes into the sort of practicality of it. You might be that you're getting up and all you can fit in during that day because of your busy work life and family life, half an hour run, then you've got to get a quick breakfast in. It takes a bit more consideration then to be able to get that sort of setup right. But it's doable. It is very doable. I think it just takes a bit more consideration there.
Yeah. Flipping it to the other side of the scale on goals.
Yeah.
I wanted to get your opinion on what supplements do you think are most beneficial for gaining muscle? I'm talking about non-performance enhancing, not like what would be classed as like PEDs.
Yeah. So, I mean, the obvious one's protein. Protein shakes is obviously the single best-selling supplement out there.
Any preference for you on type? Like, no, whey protein, pea protein, soy protein. What are your thoughts on the different types?
I think whey protein, you generally get more bang for your buck.
Because of the higher concentration of branched chain amino acids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think, generally speaking, you get more bang for your buck, you get more value for money. I think a lot of them can taste quite artificial, but a lot more now that are a lot more palatable.
I have stevia flavored whey protein.
Oh, okay.
Which it probably does taste just as sweet, to be honest, but I like the fact that I know I'm not consuming lots of artificial sweetener. If I have too much aspartame, it gives me a headache every time. If I go on a night out, I cannot drink rum and coke, diet rum and coke, because it just gives me a banging headache. Maybe that's the rum as well.
Potentially.
But yeah, you can get stevia flavored vanilla. That's pretty neutral.
Yeah. But yeah, I've had like chocolate fudge brownie flavored from different brands and things like that, and that tastes horrific. And cookies and cream. My favorite one I ever had was white chocolate and raspberry.
Oh, that would be
It was
a bit more subtle.
Yeah, it was a bit more subtle, and I didn't used to drink it as a shake. I'd put it in like Greek yogurt and stuff like that.
I do that. I very rarely actually have a shake. Yeah, I'll mix it into Greek yogurt, porridge, something like that.
Exactly. But yeah, I think protein, because obviously if you wanted to gain muscle mass, you're aiming for that like 1.4 to 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. I can't convert that to pounds for the Americans. I apologise. But I think, aiming for that per day, you can get that from just a diet. It's very, very difficult, I think. And you've got to be eating a lot of...
For you, how much is that? How many grams of protein do you try and have?
So I aim for 160 to 180 a day. So I weigh around the 100 kilo mark at the moment. So I aim for around 160 to 180 a day. And that is in the form of 2 shakes, a protein bar at lunch, because I can't afford to be buying and eating like 3 steaks.
Yeah, imagine if you had 30 grams a meal, you got like 3, 6, 9, 20. You still 30 grams a meal eaten 4 times, and you're hitting 120. So you're like,
exactly.
That's where the protein shakes.
Exactly. It just makes it easier.
Just bump you up, aren't they?
It is an ease of use thing, really.
Yeah. I find it's actually cost effective.
Yeah, definitely.
It's cheaper to get 30 grams of protein from some good brands. Obviously, some brands it's not cheaper, but there's plenty out there. My protein is probably the one I use most.
Best. I think that's the best value for money one going at the moment. It might not be like the purest of product compared to if you're paying for some of the others, but the difference for your everyday user is it's not going to.
I don't think the purest is any less than. I trust my protein being a bigger brand and having like selling more, having better standards than a random high-end small brand.
Yeah.
They have some batch tested things on their site. Yeah, well, they used to. I don't know if they do anymore.
Yeah, they still do. They have their informed sports section where they do that.
If you're a competitive athlete, you do have to be careful about not getting a cross-contaminated supplement.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, I think if I was working with an athlete, I would probably tell them to go. I'm sure others do. Maybe Maximuscle.
Maximuscle.
What's it called now? They changed it. Maxi Nutrition?
Maxi Nutrition.
Yeah, they probably do batch tests.
I think they do have like an informed sports section where they'll do it. There's a brand, Bulk Fitness, as well. They'll do it.
All right, I've never heard of them.
Yeah, they're sort of a little bit smaller than My Protein, but still quite a very same model kind of thing. And
I think good advice is actually stick to a brand you've heard of.
Yes, definitely.
Don't go for the random bodybuilder extreme mass. Yeah. Yeah.
So you see some of them, you see the packaging, and it's like,
the more dramatic the packaging, the less I would trust the product.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's Nick Bare's brand, BPN. I've had his stuff before, but because it's an American-based brand, to get it through the English retailer, it's so expensive.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
That tastes really
They're
good.
probably producing the same stuff over.
Exactly, yeah.
So we've got whey protein.
Yeah.
What else have we got?
Creatine.
That's got to be second as well.
Yeah.
I've got them in the same order. Whey protein first, creatine monohydrate.
Yes, yeah.
F-Lester.
Yeah.
Just a waste of money, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Creatine, obviously, not only for the fact that it does help with protein synthesis, it also helps with recovery, helps with energy levels, that kind of stuff. It's just an all-round good supplement to be adding into your daily routine. Obviously, you can get it from red meat, but it has to be a lot of red meat.
I got some stats on that, actually.
Oh, excellent.
There's 1 gram of creatine in an 8-ounce steak. Well, you only need that would be a lot of steak. So I take 3 to 5 grams of creatine a day. I like the fact that since I started, it used to be recommended a loading phase, and over time that's gone now.
Yeah, everyone's realised that's
3 to 5 grams, and that keeps your creatine topped up to their like max levels. It takes, I don't know, maybe like a 20, 30 day gradual load on that, but then you can just stay on it all year round. You don't have to cycle on and off or anything like that. And then you've got a tin of tuna, 100 grams, so just less than a tin, 0.5 grams.
Okay.
But if you had a high meat diet, I do actually think you'd be getting up there.
Yeah, I think you would.
To your 3 grams. But if you're a vegetarian, I think you're going to be...
You could be struggling to find it, aren't you?
I wonder whether vegetarians would have a better response to supplementing creatine to like meat eaters.
Probably would, because their tolerance would be so low to it in terms of like they're having previous exposure. I think,
or just their natural stores are going to be lower.
I think they would benefit or would react.
Do you notice the difference when you take it?
Yes. So I haven't taken protein and creatine for the past month or so because I forgot to buy it in the bag. But I've noticed that I feel more fatigued since not being on it as much.
Yeah.
And
do you think you're not recovering as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I think
it's not stimulants.
No, exactly.
It must just be recovery.
Yeah, I think it benefits recovery so much because your muscles obviously take it in a lot quicker and things like that. But, I just feel less recovered and a little bit more sluggish going into a workout or a run.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I notice the big problem if I'm not taking whey protein is I'll replace whatever point in the day I have whey protein with something else, and that something else is like a large bowl of cereal. I'm replacing what was like a relatively low calorie, lean 30 grams of protein with 450 grams of like relatively high GI carbohydrates. Yeah. I actually find that like not only I'm not getting protein, but I'm like slowly gaining weight when I'm not having it. With creatine, I take it because I know the studies are solid.
Yeah.
I don't even notice any difference.
Do you know?
No, but I have clients where they've started taking it and because we track them, some of my clients will track specific what they're lifting. Their just reps go up.
This is their energy falls
straight. Once they're loaded, straight away, there's noticeable difference on the numbers. So I know it works, but maybe I've just got higher stores from my diet.
Yeah, this is it. This is a potential for it, isn't it? And I think that again comes back to the knowing what you're taking in just from your diet as well.
I think because it's a relatively cheap supplement, I'm happy to say get it. If it's more expensive, I'd probably just stop.
Yeah.
Number 3, I've got my third best one. I'm wondering if it's the same as you.
Go on. What's your?
Let's say on 3. 1, 2, 3. Caffeine.
Caffeine, really?
That was terrible.
I know, sorry, my mind went blank now. You can do that again, everyone.
No.
No.
Go on. What would you have said?
My third best one probably would have been along the lines of something like glutamine or something like that.
L-glutamine.
Glutamine, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I remember caffeine. Does that a supplement for?
Yeah, I think
it's a supplement for gaining muscle.
It is.
It makes you work out better, therefore improves your results.
Exactly, yeah.
What would you rather drop, caffeine or L-glutamine?
Purely because I love coffee, I'd rather
definitely going to drop L-glutamine.
But it's nothing to do with performance. It's just to do with the caffeine addiction more than anything.
Yeah.
But
how much? Do you know what's the optimal amount? Let's say you are going to go work out with a friend. You're going to do a big leg day. What's the optimal amount of caffeine for you to perform well?
For me, so I would have probably no more than 200 milligrams in so from like a pre-workout.
Yeah.
I don't like a high stimulant kind of pre-workout, especially ones that just fill it out with loads of beta-alanine.
Yeah.
Just make me feel like there's ants in my skin.
Yeah. I've got the same number as written down for me as 200 milligrams, probably optimal.
Yeah.
Any more, and I feel slightly like nervous.
It ramps up a little bit of the anxiety and things like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I'm not there. I'm like looking at myself.
Yeah, I get that
through a window. But a filter coffee is like 150 milligrams.
Yeah.
So that almost gets me there.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's not quite there.
Yeah.
But then if I have two, I'll blow my head off. Instant coffee is like 80 milligrams. But the product that I've found that's like pretty close is a Nocco.
Yeah.
No carbs company.
Yeah.
They have 180.
Yeah.
Pretty much the sweet spot for me.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, I mean, I don't have them every day because just I'll be storing a lot of Nocco. But for me, if I want a good workout, I'll get a Nocco.
Yeah, if you know you've got a good hour and a half workout coming up, something like that's ideal.
Yeah.
I used to have, have you heard of All Black Everything from USN?
No.
It's tasty. So it used to taste like ice cream. It's delicious. But it had like 220, 230 milligrams of caffeine in, and I'd go in.
It's pushing it.
Yeah, I'd go into the gym just like ready to tear something off or something like that.
Is that pre-workout?
Yeah, pre-workout. So I've stopped taking pre-workouts because they came with a natural crash as well. It didn't.
I don't think I've ever taken a pre-workout.
Have you not?
No.
Okay.
I think I grew up in the Jack 3D era.
Yeah.
Where people were just like having a heart attack, like
heads were blown up.
Yeah, too many marathons where someone took 3 scoops of Jack 3D and died.
Yeah.
I just stayed away from it, and then I was very tempted to get. Do you remember Eno Explode?
Yeah.
Came in a big red tub. I like the look of that because one of my friends used to take it, and I think it's got some kind of. Well, it's got Eno and it's got a vasodilator.
Yeah.
So he'd always look so pumped. So I was always tempted by that.
Yeah, vasodilators are interesting. Like the supplements that are specifically targeted towards that. The pump enhancers they're often
has nitrics, nitrix oxide in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much. You can see why that would work. Better blood delivery.
Yeah. I think.
And you'd look awesome in the gym.
Yeah, that's literally the exact reason I took it for like a year. I really
tried Eno Explode.
I haven't tried Eno Explode,
but the same kind of thing.
Yeah, and it did make you feel good in the gym because obviously you can feel your muscles they're there. But it is a temporary thing, very much so.
Yeah, but still
makes you feel good. Yeah.
It might motivate you to do an extra couple of sets.
Exactly. This is it.
I don't know of any health risks associated with that. The nitrix oxide in a pre-workout. I'm sure there's other things in them, maybe too much caffeine and other stuff. I generally don't, if I don't know all the ingredients on it, I generally don't take it.
Yeah.
So that's why I tend to stick to like Nocco. Tenzing's like a nice natural one if you want something that's like
really tasty as well.
It is. It's only got, I've got it here, 80, so it's like an instant coffee's worth. So good for like midday.
Yeah.
Not quite pre-workout level.
Yeah.
I've got one more. You said L-glutamine. That's just an amino acid.
Yeah.
Good for joints.
Yeah.
You got any others?
So I sort of went a little bit around a broader spectrum kind of look at this and put down looking at things like zinc, magnesium, omega-3 fatty acids, glucosamine, that kind of stuff. So more sort of body maintenance to promote longevity.
Which recovery, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, exactly.
I had ZMA, which is zinc, magnesium, and arginine. I'm just going to throw that as a guess. I had that before, trying to help me sleep, but those things only work if you're deficient in them.
Yeah, this is it.
So I tried it, and I don't think I noticed any difference, probably because I wasn't actually deficient in those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you get a blood test and you're low in zinc, magnesium, or any of those things, then definitely supplementing them is going to help.
I think, I can't remember where the study was from, but there was a study that went into sort of like the UK population in terms of like vitamin levels and things in their blood and mineral levels. And there was noticed in the UK, there was a significant drop in levels compared to other countries in Europe along the lines of these.
Especially vitamin D.
Yeah.
Vitamin D was my last one on the list. That's the one that I religiously take every day in the winter and then every other day through the summer.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's just because I was in a lecture at uni and they recommended that and showed us the stats on UK population and deficiency in vitamin D. And it was even higher in people that exercise regularly. Yeah. It was like, and the more, I wear quite a lot of sun cream as well, trying to stay fresh, looking young. I'm actually 59.
Yeah. Tom's actually close to retirement age.
Yeah. And they recommended it, came through, and ever since then, I think I've taken it ever since that day.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, that's it on the supplements. Let's go to, we talked a bit about supplements for recovery. What other recovery methods? What are the best recovery methods for athletes or lifters?
So starting from the very basic level, nutrition, rest, and active recovery are my three key things. So nutrition, we've covered that.
Yeah.
You know, making sure you're getting enough protein for your goals in. You're still getting your carbohydrates and your good fats and things like that.
And calories.
And calories in general, yeah. Having colourful plates of food, getting food sources of all kinds in there. Rest, making sure you sleep enough and getting good quality sleep is key for recovery.
Yeah, a few things on sleep that I thought we'd go through, like how can you get good quality sleep? And I came up with like just a couple of like things that I focus on.
Yeah.
Definitely blackout. Yeah. Blackout any light. I'll be pretty obsessive. We've got a baby and a toddler, and sometimes I'll sleep in my toddler's room when the baby's up all night. To be honest, we're swapping beds all night, but he's got like a little night light and I'll like try and block it off with books to try and hide it. So we're trying to get blackout, no blue light, so no TV or phone for like 2 hours before bed. That's a tough one, especially for us finishing late as personal trainers. But that's been a big one. I don't know how much the blue light affects me, but not having the stimulation of scrolling through, seeing someone on the reel. We're not meant to be transported to different environments that often as you swipe. So I try and use airplane mode. I try and do 7:30, hit airplane mode on. And then if you stay in airplane mode, your phone's not that exciting, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, you mentioned it, consistent sleep pattern. So 9 hours is not the same. Like, I'd rather get 7 hours of the same hours, and I'd feel better from that than 9 sporadic hours changing the time so they go to bed. So having the same bedtime and wake up time is probably more important than your like total sleep.
I imagine that's difficult with 2 young ones in the house.
Yeah. Well, the same. Yeah, it's difficult. No, we have the same bedtime and the same wake up time. They're pretty good at get them to bed, get them up. The problem for us is the 5 times in the night in between that you're up. That's not the ideal thing. We can go to bed and wake.
But you get the same hours, but
you're also like changing nappies and
So I for me, I'm in bed by 9, asleep by 9:30 after reading a bit, and then I'm up at like 4 the next morning because I'll train before work and things. But that's enough sleep for me. I tell people, and they're just like, "How do you not function with like 9-10 hours sleep?" I'm like, you don't need it. As long as you're doing consistent and it's good quality sleep, you're fine. You don't need it.
That's good. I've never managed to get it. I started getting into trying to get my sleep more consistent, coinciding with also having children. but I would have liked to have seen how I functioned, you know, having that consistent bedtime. I was always tired through uni and stuff, but I was changing my circadian rhythm, just didn't know where it was at.
Oh, I was the same through uni. Yeah, that was a nightmare. But yeah, the next one on my list was active recovery.
Yeah.
Now, with that, what I mean is, even on your rest days, it's not a day to be sat in front of the sofa doing nothing all day. Yeah. You're still getting up, you're moving about. That might even be like going for a really gentle bike ride or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. More for a mental side of things, for me personally.
Yeah.
Just knowing that you keep moving, your body feels a bit more fresh from it, I think.
What else would you class as a active recovery?
Even to spend the day, if you've got housework to do, you're up and about, you're moving, hoovering, cleaning, mopping, sweeping, wiping things down, spending the day with the kids, you'd be playing with them all day, things like that.
Yeah.
Just getting your body moving more than anything.
Don't lounge around, basically.
Don't lounge around, yeah. Make most of your day from a mental point of view. I think it makes you feel better and more prepared for when you're back into the training.
Yeah.
I did also think about from a more specific point of view. So if you're looking at, like, say you're in specific sports, so like a footballer compared to a marathon runner is going to have very different sort of rest and recovery protocols.
Yeah.
You'll find, I think, footballers will be a lot more focused on maybe doing skill work on their rest days. So it'll be different kind of active. Yeah. Whereas a marathon runner will just be getting out onto their feet a bit more.
They'll probably do a run on their
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a gentle recovery run. Getting to see like a massage therapist, going to see a physio, that kind of stuff, to work on little niggles that aren't going to put so much fatigue into their body, but they are still getting some muscle activation. Their heart rate's going up a little bit, not into that point where it's actually engaging the cardiovascular system to a point where it's still working hard, but it's just ticking over kind of thing.
Yeah. And then there's obviously the more commonly like paid therapy, sports massage.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in sports massage. I'd put that as the next one.
Yeah.
After obviously focusing on active recovery, nutrition, and rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd probably put like, I guess you could put any myofascial relief in that category, whether it's foam rolling. I actually got sent a massage gun by a company called Bob and Brad, and they make like a £90, $90 massage gun that I did a review on and compared it to the Theragun, and it came up, in my opinion, like on top for that.
Yeah.
And I've been using that since. If I get like niggle in my shoulder blade, apart from a sports massage, it's the only thing that can take that away.
Well, it's almost like a home sports massage. It's a very basic version. I've got a massage gun as well. It was absolutely amazing when I was doing I was leading up to powerlifting competition. Yeah. Great for
What did you use it on most?
Predominantly my quads and hamstrings.
Yeah.
They're always where I feel the fatigue most. I don't feel it really in shoulders and chest. Like doing a bench day, bench focus day, but after squats or deadlifts, I definitely feel it in my legs. Yeah. A lot more. That might be down to how I'm warming up or cooling down, to be fair.
Yeah. I pretty much always just use it on my back glutes. But yeah, I guess that's a good thing about it. You can just pick where you want.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a great sports masseuse that used to work for the gym, and I was gutted when he actually got offered like a higher paying job as a welder. Yeah. That's absolutely good. I didn't know what I was going to do. No. When I was playing around for football, he would like be the only thing that got me like recovered enough to play again, like within a reasonable space of time. But one that I don't see you, I'm the only person that I know that does it. But have you tried voodoo rapping?
No, I haven't.
You've not voodoo rapping?
No, I've not even heard of it.
I'll pop it up on the screen. I've got some videos probably of me doing it. So a voodoo rap is like a band, like a really long band. It's, I guess, a bit like do you know those bands you put around your thigh, the booty bands? Yeah. Sort of that material, but imagine a really long roll of it. Yeah. And you wrap it around your joint. Yeah. And then up above and below the joint. And you basically just put it on to like until it feels uncomfortably tight but not unbelievable, and then you just perform all the movements. So if I did it on my elbow, I'd just do some external internal rotation, flex.
Is it similar to like sort of BFR, blood flow restriction kind of?
No, this is just releasing the connective tissue. Okay. So So if you think foam rolling, you can foam roll above and below the joint, but you can't foam roll on the joint itself. But there's lots of connective tissue surrounding the joint. All your tendons, ligaments, all the fascia layers still get stuck together here, but we can't foam roll it.
Yeah.
And the Voodoo band, because it's obviously flexible, can hug all that.
Right, okay.
And then when you move, it's called Voodoo flossing, because as you move back and forth and run the tendons, it will floss. So you're putting the pressure on the band, and then it will floss it and release, free up to the connective tissue, which then creates space between the layers that fluid can pass through.
Okay,
to cover the joint. So you get the like biomechanical relief from not having it all stuck together. If you imagine you glued loads of elastic bands together and then tried to pull it, but then if they weren't glued together, they would be more pliable. So I had really bad elbow tendonitis after dislocating my elbow, and it's just really prone to it. And most recovery therapies, you have to sort of like stick it out for a long time before you like know if it's working. But I did it twice for 2 minutes, and I went from not being able to bend my elbow without sharp sternum pain and just fixed it instantly.
No way.
So it depends what your problem is. But, and I've done it on clients at the gym on their knees. There's one member especially, she could only squat like a quarter of the way down. Just did it twice, and she could squat full depth without pain. So if you've got like big restriction in the connective tissue within the joint, Voodoo flossing is like an amazing.
I have to look into that
for some people. Obviously, if you've got arthritis in your knee, it's not going to do it for you. But so I'll show you how to do it. I'll do it to your knees and see if your depth improves. But that's my like top tip.
Yeah.
Do you know who Kelly Starrett is?
No, can't say I do.
Right, he's like basically like king of mobility work. He's got like the Mobility Bible. It's a book called Supple Leopard.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yeah, no. Yeah, I recognize the book.
That's got all the voodoo flossing stuff. And I avoided it for so long because I'm so wary of like gimmicks. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then when you're in pain, you'll try anything, won't you?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
the voodoo band was like $9.99 on Amazon. So I like did whatever it said in the book, watched a few YouTube tutorials, and I was like, oh, I'm sold. So good.
Another thing about sort of recovery that I came up with was be specific to you as a person as well. So, for example, recovery for someone who responds better to having higher intensity but lower volume training pattern. So maybe like 3 days a week of higher intensity, so higher weight for like, say, a power lifter. If they respond better to that, their recovery is going to be slightly different to someone who works better off training for volume.
I think that's part sport dependent.
It is,
like cyclists and swimmers are like volume athletes.
Absolutely, yeah. I think for me, I'm quite lucky in that I can balance both quite well. Just genetically, I'm more predisposed to it. So I know for me, for recovery, I can have a number of training days that include heavy days in there as well, alongside my running, and then it'll come to like Saturday, Sunday, which generally speaking is either a long run or a recovery day, one of them. And on that recovery day, I'll still go for like an easy 5K and maybe some light body weight work.
So what's the like practical application? If you're someone that like tends to do like very high intensity, do you mean they should like take it a bit easier on their active recovery?
Yeah, I think so, because you probably put a lot more weight through your joints around the week.
I guess if you imagine someone like, I don't know, Hafthor Bjornsson or Olympic lifter, maybe doesn't want to be doing a light 5K on that.
Exactly. This is it.
That makes sense.
And generally speaking, if you're someone who does higher intensity, so you're lifting heavier, you're generally speaking, in my opinion, you're probably going to carry a little bit more weight on you as well. So things like getting out and going out on your feet, whether that be for a run or like a really long walk on your recovery day, is going to put more pressure on your joints. So it's not ideal. Whereas if you get into the pool, go for a bit of splash about.
And how heavy are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Heavy, a run is not.
It's not ideal for you.
No.
I remember when I was playing rugby at my heaviest, when I was playing over the border in North Wales, I was 115 kilos, but it was like a healthy 115 kilos. I could still perform in rugby and on the pitch, but I didn't do any running outside of rugby, because I knew for a fact my joints, when it came to a Saturday, will just be screaming at me because it's like, why you just shoved 115 kilos through your knees for half an hour twice a week?
Yeah, you need that. It's just too much, isn't it? If I wore that, for me, that would be a 35 kilo rucksack. There's no way any form of exercise wearing that is going to be recovery for me.
No, exactly. That is an intense workout. No matter
walking downstairs for that would be like a feat for me.
Yeah, it's it was a lot to carry around, has to be said.
What about more alternative things? You ever tried like acupuncture?
I've not tried acupuncture. I've had cupping before.
Yeah.
Cupping was a strange sensation, but I think I did see the reasoning behind it. I thought, right, I'll give it a go. And that was, I'm not going to say it was great and it was transformational or anything like that, but it definitely helped.
I've done it.
Yeah.
It definitely increases blood flow.
Yeah.
Which is always good.
Yeah, it's good
and
for
it definitely pulls the myofascial like layers apart.
Yeah.
Which creates space, which is good.
Yeah.
I think the debate is how much does that translate into recovery?
This is it. I think things like that are good if you are at the top end of your sport.
Yeah, you see a lot of Olympic athletes with the octopus style marks on them.
I think if you're at the top end of your sport, that's the 1% kind of recovery methods that you're looking to get that extra edge.
I agree. I think if I had unlimited finances, I'd do it once a week.
If I had unlimited finances, I'd have someone hired who'd do it for me once a week and everything else for me once a week as well.
But I've mixed feelings on acupuncture. Like one side of my brain says it's got so much quackery in it that it doesn't work. And the other side of my brain, I've had it and I feel like my pain has gone away. I can't tell if it's like the stimulation of the needles and then the body's literally just trying to heal those micro damages by basically it's trying to recover, and because that's where your inflammation was. So I've had like positive experiences anecdotally of it, but I just cannot like wrap my head around what mechanisms it's actually working by.
Yeah, I mean,
sports science perspective.
Yeah, I think for me, it's one of those techniques where it's been around. I don't know how long.
A long
time. Yeah. So there must be something behind it.
I don't know if that's a good.
No,
I don't know if that's a good justification.
No,
we've had a lot of things that have been around a long time that we've got rid of.
Very true. Very true. In terms of recovery and benefits, I think it's one of those things where it's anecdotal and if it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah.
I don't know the science behind it really.
No. Yeah, the part I struggle with is like putting a needle in your foot to like help my shoulder. That's
things like reflexology. And
I think that's where I draw a line. But if I've got a dodgy shoulder, putting a few in my shoulder to stimulate some healing there.
Yeah.
I'm probably like all for that.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Do you want to go with one of the things you had to ask about?
So one of the things that I wanted to ask was leading on from what we just talked about actually. Obviously, in your experience, you've worked with a lot of different people as a coach. At what point is it important to focus on the 1% recovery methods? So things like ice bath, acupuncture, cupping, that kind of stuff. At what point, say if you had a client come to you going, look, I want to get to professional trials for a football team or something like that. At what point do you say to them, look, we've done all the work, let's get you doing the 1% kind of things? Where would be the trigger point for that for you?
I probably do this for myself as well. So I've only just started taking creatine, beta-alanine, and whey protein again recently because I wasn't covering the 80-90% well enough to bother with that extra 5 to 10%. I think let's go for like some kind of strength-based sport. So American football or weightlifter or something like that. If they're not doing 4 to 5 weight training sessions a week, having at least 7 hours of relatively consistent sleep, meeting their grams per day of protein requirement, and not binge drinking, they have to fulfill all those things before I would talk about supplements. So if they're eating enough protein, They're training 4 or 5 times a week. Their sleep is relatively consistent. No one's perfect, but as in the majority of their life they are. And they're not like abusing alcohol regularly. Then once they've covered all those things, then I'd start talking about supplements, but they would have to do all those. And if one of them was, there's no point in us even talking about it. It's like, put your energy into that. And that's why with myself, I basically wasn't training enough. I wasn't eating well enough. I was grabbing what was around. So I made sure I got those things sorted first. And I've had a really good block of training. And I was like, okay, what else can I do? And then I went for the
makes sense, definitely.
5%.
And what are your training goals at the moment then on the back of that?
So post-American football, which is actually a long time ago now, my goal was to put my body back together. Because I had just like...
high contact sport.
The wear from that was pretty extreme. So right now I'm trying to maintain as much muscle mass while getting in the habit of doing regular cardio. Prepping myself for a triathlon in September. And my goal in the triathlon is actually just going to be to come in the middle of the pack. But that's going to be me coming from like a strength background, trying to come in the middle of the pack of a like endurance race. And it's not an easy one. It's going to be like a sea swim, a hilly bike and a sandy run in Anglesey. So right now I'm trying to maintain as much muscle mass as I can and get that habit going. So I'm going out running now. I don't know how, I've got a route, but I haven't measured how far it is. I'm not measuring how long it takes because the habit is what I have to build first. And I think this is a mistake people make. It's like they worry too much about what program I'm going to do at the gym. It's like, well, how many times are you going to the gym at the moment? They're like, well, I'm not going at all. I was like, okay, well, why don't you just try and turn up consistently? And if you can turn up consistently 3 times a week, and just do whatever you feel like, have a play round. Then once you've done that, we'll talk about maybe putting in some kind of program. And once you got that, maybe we'll talk about some more detail, maybe add these exercises or do this. So I'm just trying to build my cardio consistency. And then through the summer, I'll start like putting more of a serious training plan together.
How are you finding building your cardio consistency at the moment?
I'm struggling with the lack of enjoyment of running, and I'm looking forward to the weather improving so I can start adding some cycling and open water. I like the open water swimming from like a mental health perspective, just that icy water kind of clearing. Also, just being in the water without your phone. That's one of the things I like best.
Disconnecting.
And the silence when you can tell I have kids. When you put your head under the water and you just have this sort of like, there's nothing else going on. I enjoy that.
I bet.
So, but I'm struggling. I bought a new pair of running shoes because I was struggling with back pain just while running, the impact. So.
It's important. Get the right running shoes, definitely important.
Just build that consistency. Low pressure. I've enjoyed having like a low pressure goals of just run once or twice every week. That's it.
Nice. Good stuff. It's a great way to start. So another one that I had is, which nicely links into the conversation we just had, how do you manage goal setting with a client or with yourself as well?
I think people set too many long-term goals that are too specific, which is kind of like counter to what a lot of people say. So I think if you don't know how what you're going to do is going to pan out. And I think you're setting yourself up for disappointment if you think you're going to be able to guess what weight someone's going to be in 12 months time. It's just too long term. So what I tend to like to do with, obviously you need you need a direction to head in. So I tend to, let's say it's a weight loss client. I'll ask them, a lot of the time they have a weight in mind that they want to be based on what they think other people are and stuff like that. But I just ask them, what is the last weight where you were happy with your body at? And then whatever that is I'll usually actually add like 1 or 2 kilos because most people haven't been weight training. So let's say they say, I was happy at 60 kilos and they're like 80 kilos now. I'll be like, all right, well, let's set your long-term goal as 62, 63 kilos. Because you're probably going to have a little bit more muscle mass than you did. You might be a little bit denser, but still slim. So that'll be the long-term goal. I'm probably not even going to put a date on it.
Yeah.
I just think, well, what's a realistic amount to lose per week? And probably like 0.5 to, I don't even like, 1 kilo is too much, I think. 0.5 kilos a week is about a pound.
Yeah.
On average. Now, and I'll set a 6-week goal. It's just like, all right, let's hit that. Let's lose 6 pounds or more. So they can lose more if they want. But we're going to be happy with 6 pounds.
Yeah.
And anything else is an extra.
Yeah.
We're going to try and hit that in 6 weeks' time. And then we'll reset. Let's say they lost 4 pounds. Well, great. They're 4 pounds closer. Yeah. Whereas if you've set too long or too strict long-term goals, you're just falling further and further away from hitting it. So yeah, I like mid-term goals spread out with like a realistic weekly average.
Yeah, it's a nice way to look at it. I think that makes it a lot more actually believable in your goal, because people come, I want to lose 20, 30 kilos. You can go, that's great, but how are you going to get there? What's your path to get there, basically? And then by setting out that path, you sort of take away that view of the long-term goal almost.
Yeah.
And you sort of go, let's just actually enjoy what we're doing and just chip away.
Yeah. I talk about, you definitely want a goal, but I talk about a lot, I use the term process focused. So you're not really going to be able to control your results as much as you think you are.
Yeah.
Like your body will do what it wants sometimes. Sometimes you'll be hydrated, sometimes you'll be underhydrated, sometimes you'll be stressed. External factors will come in. You might, have a death in the family. You might get a new job, get a promotion that's more stressful. There's all things that are going to affect like your rate of progress. So if you just focus on the process, as in the actions we've set in place to take that would result in that outcome at a certain point, it's a lot easier than trying to get yourself emotionally caught up in the number on the scale. Absolutely. Now, you definitely want to track your progress.
Yeah.
And this is where, like, people get confused, I think. So I see personal trainers that won't weigh their clients, and they don't really set goals, and they don't really, because they don't want to set them up for disappointment, and they know that it can be unhealthy. But I think they definitely need to measure whether they're going in the right direction.
Measure progress or not, yeah, definitely.
But definitely being flexible about where people are in their life. You know, how many people lose weight over December? So if you've set a goal where you've averaged their weight loss over 12 months, but actually for almost 10% of the year, they're going to be maintaining weight at best.
At best, yeah.
So it's going to throw them off with their like annual target.
It's not even just December, is it? It's like going into like summer and stuff. Are you going on holiday? Are you spending more time with family and friends, barbecues, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and we pause. It's like, isn't it? Don't go backwards is the goal. Let's see what we can do. Let's try and come back at the same way. Or if it's strength, let's take some bands. Let's try and not lose muscle mass. We're going to try to mitigate non-ideal. I've got this in my nutrition plan that I write. I put how you manage the bad times is going to determine whether or not you get to your goal.
Yeah.
Everyone can do well in the good times.
Absolutely.
So that's literally what you need to focus on. Whereas people generally will wait until, I'll start again after. So I know this is the deciding factor.
Yeah, this is probably the most important time.
Yeah, whether you achieve or not is, do you share the pudding on the meal out, or do you go for the cookie dough mountain? Like
cookie dough mountain every time.
Yeah. But you just got to manage all those occasions.
Yeah.
And it's not about abstaining from them. It's about managing damage control.
Yeah, damage control is the best way to put it. Yeah.
Don't start again on a Monday.
Oh, no. Or
just hold yourself together.
Yeah.
Just rate too far.
Just rein it in a little bit more on the weekend. And then back to being a bit more strict on the weekdays. So my final one for you that I thought of.
Yeah, we'll end on this one. Go on.
Yeah. How do you program for specific athletes? So what are the considerations you take into when a sport-specific athlete comes into you, or a sport-specific client comes in for you? So how do you assess their needs?
What I'll do is always make sure that I'm prioritizing the sport over the strength and conditioning. So that's important. So I've trained a few people over the years, whether it's American footballers or endurance runners, and they have different needs. People who do races, and everyone has a different race schedule. but making sure that what we're doing in the gym is not getting in the way of their track training. If they're a runner or let's say they're training a quarterback, we do not want to be destroying. The triceps might be great for a good release of the football, but if I'm messing their tricep up, it's more important that they get the practice throwing the football accurately than have a really well-developed tricep. So it's quite easy, I think, as a trainer sometimes to think that the physical adaptations you're helping create are the most important thing. And the truth is, a lot of the time, actually, technique will trump like physicality.
Definitely.
And obviously, the optimal athlete would have the physicality and the technique combined, but you've got to let them do their training first. So I kind of think, what part of the year can they manage, what volume? So in their least competitive phase of the year, we'll be doing the most amount of strength conditioning. So with my runners, usually 3 sessions a week of strength conditioning is absolute top. Any more is too much. We'll drop it down to 2 for like non-essential race season if they're just doing like friendly meets, and then when they've got their most important races of the year, they're doing one a week, just to make sure that they're recovered in time. I think with maintaining muscle mass, you need to be a little bit more frequent. So if you're a power athlete, and with those type of athletes, so I've trained quite a lot of American footballers, and I have like a little phase I'll go through of training for them. I'll see if I can find it on here. I can't, but so I'll start them off. If I get a new athlete, let's say, usually I'll get people join me after their main competitive phase if they're going to start. So they've just finished the season, they're prepping for the next one. So I start off with what I call like a functional phase. And that's basically looking at posture and weakness imbalances. So if I took you, I'd try and figure out, what are you bad at? And that could be flexibility or it could be strength. So maybe your hamstrings are really weak, but your crop quads are really strong. So we probably spend, as much of the year as we can really fixing that whilst allowing time for the other phases. So that might be a 4 to 6 week phase where we're working on mobility, just working on these. And there's quite a boring phase because there's a lot of single leg work and things like that. And then once we feel like we're not going to get you perfect, you've got to be realistic, but the season's coming and we want to be like a powerful athlete by the time we get there. So we're going to have to stop that phase. And then I move on to what I call my strength or hypertrophy phase. So that's for American football and rugby. We're going to have to try and put some muscle mass on. So that's where you're going to put your weight on. That's where we're going to get them strong. So it's going to be maybe slightly more static lift, slightly less single leg work, deadlift, squat, bench, or your compound stuff. And then after that, we're going to move to the power phase as it gets closer to their competition season. So we're going to try and turn that muscle mass and connect it up better to their central nervous system. So we're really looking at higher motor neuron recruitment. They're getting more strength output out of the muscles that we've built. And that'll start bringing your plyometrics in, prepping them, and then that'll probably lead them right up to their first match or first game. And then as soon as they hit that first game, it's just muscle mass maintenance. So how much training can we do without overtraining, impact their performance? And I'll run that muscle maintenance phase, which might have a tiny bit of plyometrics if they've got like a bigger gap between games, but not really much. It's mainly just maybe powerlifting mixing into a hypertrophy rep range. And then a bit of time off after the season where you're just trying to do a lot of those active recovery things, maybe getting treatments, and then we restart. So the runners tend to be, and the endurance athletes tend to be have less phases through the year like that. It's harder to manage because they have a winter and a summer competitive season.
They don't have particular time off, as it were.
No, so we're really just working on imbalances all the way through the year. And I will have like brief plyometric or power phases just like in before competition, but it's harder to manage that because they're just competing all year round.
This is it, I think, with runners as well. Like if it leads up to a series of shorter races, that's made way focus on a little bit more power, things like that. But again, it's completely dependent on their style of running their distances, isn't it?
It's week by week as well. So if I know they've got an important race, we're just going to have an easy session.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to periodize the whole year, but their schedule's just all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for that. That was great. Really interesting points. We've got more questions we can do. So if you're up for it, I'd definitely get you in again and cover some of the ones we missed.
Absolutely.
I loved it.